Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to talk about something that might sound a little crazy. What if that traditional path to success, good grades, good job, is actually a financial trap? We're going to break down exactly how to spot it and how to escape it, based on some insights that might just change the way you think about money forever.
Okay, let's just dive right in. The source material for this kicks off with a massive question, and we're not talking about luck or inheritance here. What is the one fundamental thing that separates the wealthy from, well, everyone else? The answer is simpler than you'd think. It all comes down to knowledge.
And here it is. This is the core difference in mindset. See, most people are focused on getting a good job, earning a bigger salary, and just climbing up that corporate ladder one rung at a time. But the wealthy, they're playing a totally different game. They're focused on owning the ladder itself. It's about acquiring assets, not just getting a bigger paycheck.
So, how do so many of us end up on the wrong path? Well, it usually starts when we're kids. We're handed this map to success with the absolute best intentions, but it might just be leading us completely in the wrong direction.
Wow. This really hits home, doesn't it? It's a story of some serious pressure to follow a very specific, safe career path. For the speaker and our source, who grew up in an immigrant family, the definition of success was super narrow. You become a professional or you failed. That was it.
And this is the formula we're all taught, right? Go to school, get the grades, land that secure job, and you'll be set for life. But what's so interesting is that while this is the map given to the middle class, it is not the map the wealthy actually use to build their fortunes.
This leads us to those amazing aha moments. The moments where the penny finally drops, and our speakers started to see behind the curtain and understand the real rules of money, the ones that most of us are never taught in school.
So get this, his very first attempt at being an entrepreneur was co-hosting a party in high school. After all the work, after paying for everything, his total profit was a whopping $2. But he wasn't upset. He was fascinated. It was a tiny start, sure, but it was his first lesson in how to create something out of nothing.
And you can see how things started to progress. It started super small, playing a drum at weddings for $50. Then it moved to those parties in high school. And by the time he was 17, while he was still supposedly on track to become a doctor, his side hustle had become a full-blown event planning company. Okay, this next concept, this is the one that changed everything for him. He's reading these finance books, and he comes across this incredibly simple but profound distinction. It's not about how much money you make, it's about what you do with it. Are you buying things that pay you, or are you buying things that you have to pay for? And you know what? His first instinct was the same as most people's. He was making some good money from his business, and he spent it on things to look rich. A nice watch, new rims, a better sound system for his car. He was buying liabilities, making everyone else rich instead of himself. And then came the real game changer. At just 19 years old, this is during the fallout from the 2008 financial crisis, he took the money he'd made and bought his first real asset. It was a foreclosed condo that he managed to snag for just $8,000. And boom, this is the magic right here. After putting a few thousand into repairs, he rented it out. All of a sudden, this property was putting $600 into his pocket every single month. He didn't have to trade his time for it. He owned an asset, and for the very first time, his money was working for him. So, this experience leads directly to one of the most controversial ideas in personal finance, and it challenges the biggest purchase most people will ever make. Is the home you live in truly an asset? The crucial difference, the thing that really matters, all comes down to one simple question. Which way is the money flowing? Your personal home is constantly taking money out of your pocket for the mortgage, for taxes, for repairs. An investment property, on the other hand, is designed from day one to put money in your pocket through rent. Now, let's be super clear here. The source isn't saying never buy a house. Not at all. The point is to understand what it really is, financially. You have to treat it like the luxury liability it is, kind of like a nice car or a fancy watch. And just make sure you can truly afford it without it crippling your ability to buy actual income-producing assets. And here's one of those money games that was mentioned earlier. See, banks use this method called front-loading on mortgages. And what it means is that for a huge chunk of your loan, like for years and years, your payments are mostly just feeding the bank's profit as interest instead of actually building your own wealth. I mean, just look at this breakdown. It's kind of shocking. In year one of a typical $3,000 mortgage payment, almost all of it, like maybe $2,900 is going straight to the bank as interest.
Only a tiny little piece is actually paying down your loan. It can take around 15 years just to get to the halfway point where your payment is split evenly between interest and principal. That's a decade and a half of mostly just paying the bank.
So what do we do with all this information? How do we stop playing by the old rules and start playing the game that the rich play? Well, the key is to shift your entire financial focus.
So how do you start owning instead of just earning? Well, according to the source, history points to three main pillars of wealth. You can create your own assets by starting a business. You can buy assets that create cash flow, like income-producing real estate, or you can own a piece of other huge successful businesses by investing in stocks. Each one of these paths is a way to build a system that works for you.
And really, this is the entire mindset shift summed up in one sentence. Stop making that next raise your #1 goal. Instead, focus your energy, your learning, and your money on acquiring things that are going to pay you long after you've clocked out for the day.
So we'll end this explainer with that same question for you to think about. When you look at your career, your savings, your financial goals, what's the end game? Are you just working to climb someone else's ladder, or are you starting to build a ladder of your own?